Chapter 43. On the late autumn nights, there was a bitter cold in the air. Cold winds came one after another, tricky and cunning. They attacked when people let down their guards. The cold took over every bit of summer and made people feel frozen. However, the brightly lit state of California seemed like it was never afraid of winter. Even though it was late at night, the street was still bustling with people. Even in the ruthless winter, the city was still lively. In a Starbucks cafe in Chatterton Town, the scene was lively. Everyone was gossiping, and some discussions were more bitter and cruel than the cold wind of people making schemes, just like the two ordinary women who were sitting in a corner. The scarf that Madonna had bought was the same as Karen's. She handed it to Emma and said, "Cousin, it's cold. I bought this especially for you. It is a limited edition from this brand. There are only 6 of these in the whole city." Emma looked at the logo on the scarf and frowned slightly. She did not reach out to take it. "You've just changed jobs, and you don't have much money. Why are you spending so much money? You took good care of me when I was in innovative tech, and I didn't buy anything for you. This is a little present for you," Madonna said lightly and pushed the scarf to Emma. Emma glanced at the expensive scarf and did not take it. She just said indifferently, "Just tell me what you want me to do. I am your cousin. Your parents entrusted you to me, and I will try my best to help you." She knew Madonna very well. If she didn't need her help, it was impossible that she would spend the money on her. The scarf may look light, but she wasn't sure how heavy its burden would be if she took it. Emma's answer was stiff, and she refused to take the scarf. Madonna was somewhat embarrassed, so she smiled and said, "You know, I was fired because of Karen. That bitch." Speaking of Karen, Madonna almost gnashed her teeth, and the smile on her face turned into a ferocious one. "If she hadn't been playing tricks behind my back, how could I have fallen into such a situation?" Emma had already guessed that Madonna would talk about her being fired, but she didn't expect that she hadn't repented on it. Emma could not help but sigh in her heart and said coldly, "Although I don't have much contact with the sales department, I still know Karen. She is not a troublemaker. As for how you were fired, only you know it best." Emma was Madonna's cousin. She usually took care of Madonna at work, but in the face of justice, she still stood on the right side. "Emma, what you saw was all a show by that woman. You don't know how shameless she is." Madonna looked left and right and said in a low voice she was kicked out by her family because she seduced her brother-in-law back in New York. These were other people's private affairs, as well as things in the past. It wasn't seen by their own eyes, and they did not understand things fully. Emma didn't want to answer Madonna. Seeing that Emma did not answer, Madonna thought that she had already been convinced, so she continued to say, "Even her family kicked her out. You don't know how slutty this person is, how many things she did secretly. You called me to come here to talk about these things?" Emma suddenly cut off Madonna's words. "If there's nothing else, I am going to leave." After saying that, Emma got up and was about to leave. Seeing this, Madonna quickly grabbed Emma and said, "Emma, wait." She hurriedly took out her mobile phone and opened the photo she had taken in secret 2 days ago. She smiled maliciously and said, "Emma, look, I'm not wrong about her. This woman knows that Director Kevin has a wife, but she still seduced him." Emma glanced at the photo. The man and woman in the photo were holding hands. The man was tall and handsome, while the woman was slender and elegant. The woman looked in the distance with her bright eyes, while the man's eyes seemed to be fixed on the woman, as if he was exploring her. But it was not crude at all, soft and delicate, which made her feel intoxicated. Seeing this photo, Emma could not help but be a little surprised. It was not because of other things, but because it was the first time, in all the time she had known Director Kevin, who was cold and lofty, had such an expression, and Karen, standing beside him, looked so beautiful. Seeing Emma in a daze, Madonna thought that she had succeeded again and hurriedly said, "Emma, I have more things to say. If you send these to Internal Affairs at Innovative Tech and let everyone see her true colors, would Director Kevin still want her? Can she still show herself at Innovative Tech?" A shocked Emma came back to her senses and sighed deeply. She shook her head and said, "Madonna, these are their private lives. You and I can't control them." Madonna only wanted to take revenge on Karen, and she wouldn't listen to anything else. Emma refused her again, and she only felt wronged and angry. She held Emma's arm tighter. "Emma, only you can help me. It's an easy task. Why won't you help me?" When Madonna was fired, this cousin of hers did not help her. Now that she had asked her for such a small favor, she was still unwilling. It was too much. This time, Emma shook her head firmly, shook off Madonna's hand, turned around, and picked up her bag from the chair. Seeing that Emma was about to leave again, Madonna was so angry that she stomped her feet and said without thinking, "Whose fucking cousin are you?" Emma stopped and looked back at her. Her eyes were as cold as that of a stranger. "I won't help you with this matter. I'll give you one last piece of advice. Don't do anything stupid. Working hard is the right path for you." Looking at Emma go, Madonna trembled with anger. Her beautiful face was contorted with rage, like a hungry beast. Emma had been her only hope. If she wouldn't help her, what other way would she have to drive Karen out of Innovative Tech? When she saw Karen and Kevin so sweet and loving in the mall that day, She made up her mind that no matter what the circumstances were, she would make Karen suffer. There was no reason for Kevin to choose Karen. What was so good about her? She only knew how to work and work. She was as stiff as a log. On the surface, she seemed to be righteous. What kind of dirty things has she done behind her back? Why does everyone help her? Who the hell is she? Miss Madonna, if Manager Emma is not willing to help you, I will help you. Just when Madonna felt that the whole world was against her, a gentle voice sounded behind her. She looked back and was a little stunned, but soon calmed down. She sneered and said, "It's you." Chapter 44. It's me. The person smiled and walked to Madonna freely. The person picked up the expensive scarf on the table and said, "Manager Emma, it's too bad that you don't want this scarf." She put the scarf around her neck and said with a smile, "Look, it suits me better." Madonna looked at her thoughtfully. The red scarf hung on her body, shining like a flame, like a torch in the dark. Perhaps this was the only chance to trample Karen under her feet. She had to grasp it tightly. Madonna asked, "Why are you willing to help me?" The woman played with the scarf on her neck gracefully and smiled. "Because I like this scarf." Madonna was stunned. When Madonna was about to ask for more answers, the woman continued, "I've heard about these things you have in your hand. If you send an email to people in the company, they would surely know where these come from. Manager Emma certainly won't do that, but I have a better way." As soon as she heard that there was another way, Madonna immediately threw all her worries away and hurriedly asked, "What is it?" "Look for this special someone." The stranger took out a business card from her bag and handed it to Madonna. "As long as you contact him, he will tell you what to do." "Okay." Madonna took over the business card carefully and felt that the business card was heavy. She stared excitedly at the business card as if she was looking at a sharp sword stabbed in Karen's chest. Karen didn't have to work much recently. After taking a shower, she lay in bed early, but she couldn't fall asleep at all. So she took out her mobile phone and sent a message to Faye, who was far away. Her slender fingers moved quickly on the screen of her mobile phone, and soon she typed, "Faye, how are you doing?" After sending the message, she received Faye's quick reply, "I'm fed well, I'm enjoying life, and there is this guy who makes love to me every night. What do you think?" Karen was embarrassed. She thought to herself, could Faye be more ladylike? Making fun of lovemaking, it was something only Faye could do. Before Karen could reply, she received a second message from Faye. "Karen, has your man made love to you yet?" Karen felt nervous. Could she say no? If she said it, she would definitely be scolded by Faye again. Not only would she be severely reprimanded, but Faye might also think Kevin had a hidden disease. After thinking for a while, she typed, "I've done what I should do." She was on the other side of the planet, but she felt that her little lie was quickly seen through by Faye, and she quickly hid under the quilt. As soon as she sent out her message, Faye immediately sent a voice message. "Karen, tell me, how did your first time feel like? Did he only care about himself and not you? Or did he only care about your feelings and forget his own?" Karen blushed and her heart beat fast when she heard that. Faye looked very pure and naive on the surface. How could she say such lustful words so bluntly? Karen was so shy that she didn't dare reply, but Faye's voice came like bombs. One voice message came after another. "Karen, I have to tell you, men hate women who act like dead fish on the bed, so when you make love, you have to take initiative. Oh, I forgot that you don't have such experience. Let me tell you, anyway, don't be silent. Scream when you should. Don't be shy. Men like it. Karen, you shouldn't just scream. You have to praise him. My Sebastian is like that. The more I praise him, the fiercer he is. He can't wait to squeeze me dry." Karen couldn't help but wipe her sweat. She really wanted to see what Faye's brain was made of. She had only told one lie, but Faye, on the other hand, had said so much. Faye's voice continued. "Karen, reply to me quickly. Tell me how about your first time feels like." Karen? Karen did not speak, and Faye started to fire messages again. "Oh, my first time was too long ago. I can't remember how it felt anymore. Otherwise, why would I ask you? By the way, did your man wear a condom when you did it? What size did he wear? Tell me, I'll bring a box back from Europe so that you can have great sex in the future." Just listening made Karen so shy that she wanted to dig a hole in the ground and get in, but Faye did not feel embarrassed at all and was still talking nonstop. Karen had never known that condoms had sizes, so she gently typed a few words. "These things have sizes?" Faye began to talk again. "Karen, some men don't like to wear condoms and think it feels better without them. But you're still young, you're in your prime. What if you have a baby? Will you keep it?" Karen could only send her 3 confused dots. Faye added, "If you get pregnant and decide to keep the baby, your life will be taken over by the child for the rest of your life. If you don't keep it, abortion will cause great harm to you as a woman." In fact, Karen had never thought about giving birth to a baby because her relationship with Kevin had not yet developed to this stage. However, if she and Kevin had a chance to have a baby in the future, she thought that she would keep it. Men like Kevin will certainly educate their child to be as excellent as he was. It would be better if he could have a boy. Suddenly realizing what she was thinking, Karen quickly looked up at the door, worried that Kevin would suddenly break in and read what she was thinking. Faye sent another voice message. Tell me, I'm gonna go shopping and I'll buy them for you. Let's see whose size is bigger, your man or my man. Faye was a woman of action. As long as she said something, she would do it immediately. Karen could already imagine Faye sending her a package full of condoms. Visualizing it, Karen quickly shook her head and immediately sent a voice message. Faye, no need to bother. I know how to buy them. Faye said. Karen, are you afraid that your man's ding-dong is too small? Before she finished listening to this voice message, Karen heard the sound of the door opening. She was so terrified and hurriedly logged out of the chat, lying stiffly in bed. Kevin came over and lay down next to her. What's too small? No, nothing. Karen stammered. She could not tell Kevin that her best friend was asking if his penis size was too small. Chapter 45. Karen looked at Kevin quietly. He wore a white robe with the belt casually tied around his waist. The robe was slightly open, so one could see his firm and fair chest. She wondered if there was anything else under his robe waver. As she thought about it, she swallowed quickly. What's wrong? Kevin looked at Karen's eyes and asked with a smile. Kevin's low and seductive voice reached Karen's ears, interrupting the beautiful scene in her mind. Karen felt surprised that she could think of such an elaborate scene while looking at Kevin. Her face was burning. She felt that she was too embarrassed to face anyone, so she quickly turned back and said, I'm going to sleep. Kevin squeezed over to her side, reached out his hand to touch her forehead, and then pulled her head away to face him. Your face is so red, and your forehead is so hot. Are you not feeling well? Kevin was very close. He was not wearing glasses. His face looked much softer and his eyes were deep. He looked sexier than in the daytime. Karen's heart beat faster, and her face became hot. She began to think about it again. She quickly shook her head and secretly cursed Faye Reed in her heart. It was all her fault that nasty girl had said so many dirty things to her, which made her feel dirty too. Looking at Karen acting so strangely, Kevin asked worriedly, Karen, I'm fine. It's getting late. You should go to sleep. Karen had always felt that Kevin's voice was very pleasant, especially when he called her name. Today she hoped that Kevin would not call her name with such a pleasant voice. He definitely didn't know that by listening to such a beautiful voice calling her name, she wanted to do some bad things to him. There were lustful ideas in her heart. Since Kevin was already her legal husband, she might pounce on him now. Karen was shocked by this idea again. It was all over. Faye Reed must have cast a spell on her. How could she have such an idea? Looking at Karen shaking her head again and muttering in a low voice, Kevin felt funny and said, Karen, why are you? I'm fine. I'm really fine. I'm not thinking about anything. Don't talk nonsense. Before Kevin could finish, Karen said this in a hurry, which made him even more confused. He didn't know what she was doing. Kevin shook his head and sighed silently while looking at Karen, who tucked herself into bed tightly. Karen hid under the quilt and moved slowly to the edge of the bed. She wanted to distance herself from Kevin without him knowing. Otherwise, she might not be able to control herself. However, as soon as she moved, Kevin stretched out his arm and pulled her back. He held her in his arms and said, Sleep well. Karen didn't dare move. Her breathing became very cautious. She laid stiffly on against his chest. Her face was on his bare chest, so she could clearly feel his warm body temperature. The room suddenly became so quiet that she could clearly hear Kevin's gradually increased breathing and accelerated heartbeat. Something came to Karen's mind. She moved and raised her head to look at him. At a glance, there seemed to be a fire burning in his eyes, which seemed to be burning her. Kevin! She did not know where her courage came from. She stretched out her slender palm to touch his handsome face, which was as perfect as a sculpture. Don't move. Kevin grabbed her hand and said in a hoarse voice, which made Karen feel a pain in her throat. Kevin, actually. Before Karen finished her words, Kevin pushed her away, got out of bed, and left the room. Karen looked at his back as he left quickly and muttered what she had not finished. Actually, I am willing. Kevin, who did not understand what she wanted to say, went to the other bathroom. He opened the faucet and took a cold shower. Although California was not as cold as other places, it still took great courage to take a cold shower in the middle of the night. Under the cold water, Kevin's mind was full of Karen's adorable and naive face. Thinking about it, he felt that the water was not cold enough. He wanted to jump into an icy pool to cool down. In fact, there was a better solution, which was to go back to the room and let Karen help him solve the problem she had caused, but Kevin did not want to do so. Although Karen was his wife and he could do whatever he wanted her to do, still he respected all her decisions. As long as she didn't nod and say she was willing, he would never force her. After showering in the bathroom for a long time and having cooled down, Kevin went to the balcony of the living room and lit a cigarette to take a smoke. Kevin has always had self-control in this kind of thing. How could he lose control in front of Karen so many times? After one cigarette was finished, Kevin smoked another. After a while, there were several cigarette butts in the ashtray. Perhaps it was because Karen was his legal wife, and because of her identity, he would react this way when facing her. Thinking about it, Kevin had this conclusion. After smoking, Kevin went to the bathroom to rinse several times. He didn't go back to his room until there was no smell of smoke in his mouth. In the room, Karen was already asleep, breathing evenly and slowly. Her beautiful face was slightly flushed, looking warm and beautiful. On the contrary, she was the one who had set the fire in him. Now she slept so soundly, while she made him take a cold bath for half an hour. Suddenly, Kevin had the urge to wake this culprit and make her take a cold shower too. However, he did not do it. Instead, he lay down beside her, pulling her into his arms, and hugged her to sleep. That night, Kevin did not sleep at all, but Karen slept soundly and had a wonderful dream. When she woke up, she thought of her dream. She looked up at the window of the balcony, only to see that Momo was curled up there, but did not see Kevin. Why did the person who reads the newspaper every morning suddenly disappear? Karen turned around in confusion. As soon as she turned around, she saw a man lying next to her. His eyes were closed, his face flushed, and his breathing was fast. They had been married for so long. This was the first time that Karen had gotten up, but Kevin was still asleep. Kevin was like a biological clock. He woke up and slept on time every day. Nothing had changed this ever since they were together. Was Kevin ill? Thinking that Kevin might be ill, Karen quickly raised her hand and put it on his forehead. As soon as she touched it, it was so hot that she withdrew her hand. Kevin, wake up. Wake up. Karen patted his face gently. Seeing that he did not respond, she added a little more strength.